Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Let me show you some of the changes coming to your iPhone's home screen with iOS 18. MACMOST is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 2,000 supporters. Go to MACMOST.com/Patreon. There you could read more about it, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So there are a lot of new features coming to the iPhone's home screen and also control center and even the lock screen. I think most users are going to be pretty happy with these. So here's the home screen, and I've got some widgets and some icons for apps. I've got another one here. Now in the past, if you were to move one of these, they would always just fall in step as a list, starting with the top left and continuing to the right and down with each row. You couldn't just place one anywhere you wanted, but now you can. If I tap and hold and then drag, I can drag, and you would expect this to snap here, right? Well, guess what? You can now put it anywhere you want and it'll stay there. So you can not only put some here, but by moving all of these into different positions, you can even leave blank spaces at the top. So you can have your app icons form any kind of shape you want and maybe show the wallpaper behind it at the top or along the left or right side, not just at the bottom. You can do more than that too. You can actually turn app icons into widgets. So watch what happens if I tap and hold on the weather icon here. I've got these selections here. The first one indicates just keeping it as an icon. But I can also go with one of 3 different widget styles because it recognizes that the weather app has these types of widgets. So I can select this one here, and now it turns that app icon into that widget. And I can tap and hold and go back to just a regular widget. What appears depends on what the app has. So for instance, with Freeform here, I don't get any widgets. And when you have a screen that already has widgets, notice that when you tap and hold the search there below, you have this little handle now, and you could drag the handle to make this bigger widget here, smaller widget, or compress back into the original size. So you have a lot more control without having to dig into things and recreate widgets from scratch. But a really big new deal is the customization of the entire home screen itself. So if I tap and hold on any one of these, or I'll just tap and hold, search there. You could see I've got the regular wiggle mode here, but I also have this edit button, and I can now go to customize. And I get this control here at the bottom. So automatic dark and light refer to dark and light mode. So I can go and say I want the home screen to be dark mode even if the mode for the rest of my iPhone is automatic. And I can do the same thing for light or just have it in sync with the regular dark and light mode. I can also go to tints. And if I do that, all of the icons lose their color and instead pick up a color that I want. So I can pick any color from here. So if I happen to like this color or this color or this color, I can pick it, and I can even have the intensity of the color. I can make it really bright there or almost devoid of color. And I can make the screen look like I want. I've even got this little eyedropper tool here. And when I have that on, I can now select a spot on my wallpaper. So I'll move this around and select like this color here. And it sets it to that. So I can easily make it kind of match the wallpaper. I also have the ability to darken the wallpaper itself with this button here. And let's turn this off to go back to normal. And you probably notice the small and large there. If I switch to large, I get larger icons, but without the names under them. So if you don't need those names, you might as well have the icons be a little larger. And it almost seems like Apple's going through a checklist of requests that users have had. Here's another one. You can now take any app and you can set it to require passcode. So require passcode or Touch ID or Face ID, depending upon what your iPhone has. So of course you need that to unlock your phone in the first place, but this adds another layer to it. So if you hand your unlocked iPhone to a friend, they can't suddenly switch an app to check something out. Now the control center, which is here on the home screen, but also everywhere else in your iPhone, you get it when you drag down from the top right like that. But it looks different now. You've got these controls and you have along the side here the indication of different pages. So I've got my favorites, I've got the music page here, and I've got a set of radio device controls here. Now I can use this to scroll, or I can just swipe like you would expect. Now when I want to customize, I can do that by tapping and holding. And you could see here those similar little lower right corner things. And I can enlarge the size or decrease the size of various items. So for instance, here is rotation lock, and I can enlarge it so I actually get an indicator there at the bottom. For a flashlight, I can enlarge this, show on or off, that kind of thing. I can also add control here. And when I do, I get this big list of controls. And this is just what comes by default with a newly reset iPhone. So there's a lot of different things that you could add. You could add so much you could actually have multiple pages on Control Center. You're not just stuck with that first one that's favorites. And better yet, more of these will get added as you add more apps. The app developers have the ability to actually specify what controls could be added. So Control Center can really be this one place where you can go for on-off switches and controls of levels and different things without having to go into an app to change that setting. And there's one more place where you can control things that you couldn't before. That's on the lock screen. Let me get to the lock screen like this. And now I'm going to tap and hold. And just like before, it can show me my lock screens and I can swipe between them to change them for whatever mood I'm in or whatever I want to do. And I've got Customize at the bottom. When I go to Customize a lock screen, notice that the buttons at the bottom left and bottom right now have little minus buttons there. So if you find you sometimes accidentally trigger the flashlight and you want to get that off of the lock screen, you can actually remove it. Better still, once you remove one of these, you can tap and then add another control that you want. So there are a bunch of different options here that you could add, of course, including adding shortcuts, which means you could basically have this little spot on the lock screen do almost anything you want. So a lot of people have had these features on their wish list for years. And finally, in iOS 18, you'll be able to do all of these different things. iOS 18 will be beta tested throughout the summer, so things could still change. And it should be released for everybody this fall. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.